Hey there, it is Tomster on behalf of Indestructible Productions once again, and we are answering some more of your questions. Now, the next question that we have is from Lee Oliveira, if I said that correctly, I don't know. And he says, "Hi, have you ever tried to use any jig or hand plane to make a radius on a fretboard? If yes, can you send some tips or point any good jig plane to do that job? Something beginner can do safely." To start off with, the easiest way to do this is, yes, you can use a plane. Yes, I have used jigs, but for a beginner, the very, very best thing that I've found, which is the method that I still use, is either using a leveling beam or a radius block. Now, radius blocks themselves, they come in a variety of different radiuses depending on what you want to use. I only have this 16-inch because I like 16-inch radiuses. But if you want to go for something different, a radius block will go a long way. But the most important thing when doing something like that is to have good radius gauges. Now, there's a bunch of different kinds of radius gauges that you'll find. The most important thing is to find very good ones, and these ones are G&W ones. I will put a link down below where you can check out all the ones that I just showed you. These two are from Crimson. That's probably the easiest way to do things. It is definitely a little bit more slower to do things when you're just sanding, but I found to give the easiest results. Now, you can use a hand plane to do the same thing. I would recommend either using a 5.5, maybe even a 6 hand plane to do that. Don't have any right here, they're down in storage somewhere, so I can't show you. But that's also fairly easy to do. You just keep on putting that radius in there. Also very easy for you to do a compound radius. So that's basically if you have a rounder radius toward your lower frets, and then toward your higher frets you have a little bit bigger of a radius. That should be a little bit more comfortable for you to play as well. But all in all, the main point is that you keep on checking with the radius gauge to see that the radius stays constant or is what you're looking for. When it comes to jigs, I'll try and find if I have some pictures or video clips of certain ones that I've seen used or have used. I remember very clearly back when I did my internship at Crimson, there was actually this big contraption which was like, I don't know, about like this high or something like that. So a little bit like waist height, which had basically 2 rails like this, and then a fretboard on basically this long piece of wood that would rotate. You can crank it and it would rotate like this, and it would rotate along that radius. So it was calculated that the rotation, if it would do a full rotation, it would go the full radius of, let's say, 14 inches or something like that. That's why it was so big. And then there was a sled for a router to run along. So basically the router is going like this, and then you're just rotating the fretboard underneath it. So it's slowly but surely just taking off along that radius. Now, setting that up was tiresome, lengthy, and well, it did get the job done, but it was a slow process to get the fretboard going because you had to crank a little bit, then do the fretboard again, crank a little bit more, do the fretboard again, and then crank. And then you'd still have to go back with the radius block anyway to get that fun, or a leveling beam, to sand away all the router marks. And then there is, I'll see if I can find a video, but for instance, the Framus and Warwick workshop in Germany, I believe, has these huge machines that do radiusing. They have this big belt sander going of different grits of paper, and then they just swing the fretboard over on top So it basically does the same thing as the router sled, but instead now it's the fretboard moving on top of a belt sander. And that's one way to do it too. You can build similar sort of contraptions with a variety of different sleds and things like that, but to be very honest with you, I would either go with the plane and a leveling block, or just straight away with a leveling beam and a radius block. That's probably the easiest way to tackle that and gives good results. There's hard to do anything wrong with that. The main point is that you don't press down and you don't do a motion like this when you're sanding, that you're making sure that you have a good point of contact and basically the sandpaper is doing all the work. You don't need to press down because the neck will move if you're pressing too hard, if you have a finished fretboard on top of a neck and you're sanding that down. If you just have the fretboard, you just use the super glue and masking tape trick and have at it. The same thing with the radius block, just keep on sanding. You can have the different grits of paper, start from like 120 and work your way up to 320 and you're set. It is that simple. So yeah, that I think covered my viewpoint on that. So we shall be back again next week to answer yet another question. So see you guys next week.